access 24/7. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and X. And for the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. And that's just a sampling. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. For laptops, mobile phones, and tablets, download the Roku app. National Streaming Sports, live and on demand sports talk for
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities.
Well, Bob, we're almost there.
Okay.
We're at the 85 season.
Yeah, so we're a better team. We're getting better.
Yes.
2 years in a row, we have a winning record.
Yes. So we're 10-6 this year, and of course, as we know, we've already been there. So we've already watched it. The Giants end up going to Super Bowl 86, and there we are. Look at. We're right Giant Stadium right now. There you are. So the Blues Brothers, me and Big Bobby G, are there. So, you know, we're going to look at the 85 season a lot. We're going to do a trivia question, of course. I'll get that to you. Well, let's do it right now. And then we'll get to it at the end of the show. You got to remind me of this so I don't forget.
All right.
Which running back has the most rushing yards in the playoffs for their Giants career? So we're going to let that, marinate out there and see if, you can come up with the answer to that one. So far, Bob, you haven't been doing good, man. I've got to be honest with you.
I think I got the first one right, and it's been downhill since.
Yes, you're like Jack Hirsch on our Mac on a big football show now. You just can't get the question right. You can't get the trivia unless I give him the answer. So anyway, and Jack could not shut up about how much he enjoyed having you on and meeting you on the big football.
Oh, that was nice. I watched you guys today for a while until my wife made me go shovel the driveway. I was really enjoying your guys. You guys had really nice chemistry together, and he seems like a great guy. And it was, I've seen him so many times in the past. It was fun to kind of interact with him a little bit and have some some very good back and forth, I thought.
He's really good at what he does. We also got a player spotlight. We're going to talk a little bit about Leonard Marshall. In 85, if I'm not mistaken, it might have been his rookie year or his second year anyway.
He came in 83, I think.
83. So
37th player drafted in 83, yes.
Second year. And this is, of course, had a lot of sacks that year, and being next to Lawrence Taylor didn't hurt. It was him and Lawrence Taylor on the right side. So they both had good years. We'll talk about the Giants roster of 85, the Pro Bowlers that were on the team. Let's see. We'll talk a little bit about the Bears. The Bears, an 85 team too. And I know I'm going to try and bring it in. This is the only show I've been able to do with the show video. So I'm going to try and bring in their dance that year. I know the Rams tried it in 86. I don't know what the heck they were thinking about. They didn't even make it to the Super Bowl, but they had some kind of dance they were trying to do. I don't think Bill Parcells wanted the Giants dancing. I don't know.
I would think that would be something that Mike Dick was a little bit more flamboyant than Parcells was, so maybe you can get away with it with him. But I don't think you get away with it with Bill Parcells now.
One of the greatest defenses of all time. We'll talk a little bit about that, and of course the great Walter Payton leading the rush there. We'll talk about the Giants draft picks or their chances of draft picks. They still got quarterback concerns. What are they going to do there? And of course, we finally get to talk about the Super Bowl, and because we won't be talking about it again until after the Super Bowl, so we'll be able to talk about that. So, Bobby, let's talk about Leonard Marshall. That year he had, I don't know if you got the stats with you or not.
I do. His best year was 85. So it's kind of neat that we're talking about the 85 Giants because he was a really big part of that right side of the Giants defense. You mentioned him and Lawrence playing together. He had 15 and a half sacks that year. He had 99 tackles. Those were career highs for Leonard. He would not hit those numbers again. I think the closest he came a few years later, and I believe it was the Giants' second Super Bowl season, where he had 80-plus tackles, but didn't come close to the double-digit sack numbers that he had in 85. But, I know you talked, and we're going to talk about the Bears' defense. The 85 Giants' defense was a very good defense, and Leonard Marshall was a big, huge part of that. For those who don't remember, or maybe they watched that playoff game, and this is what when I think of Leonard Marshall, I think of the playoff game against the 49ers. And he runs he's rushing Joe Montana. He hits Joe Montana so hard. He breaks his wrist. He breaks his ribs. He hurts his spleen, and he has an abdominal injury. Joe Montana doesn't play football again for almost 2 years after that hit. So when that's the signature play of Leonard Marshall's career. But he was more than that to the Giants. Got to go back a little bit, and I love this story that Ronnie Barnes, the longtime Giants medical staff, really heads their medical team, and he's still with the Giants today. And Ronnie Barnes says the Giants draft Leonard and I mentioned in 83. So he comes in. He's a 37th pick in the draft. When his senior year, one of his last games, he's playing against Bear Bryant in Alabama, who they end up beating. And Bear says he's one of a handful of recruits that I regret never getting him to play for the Crimson Tide. But anyways, fast forward a little bit to his rookie year. He comes in and Ronnie Barnes he just said who he was. He said he was a fat kid. His body fat was 25%. And he struggled mightily his rookie season to really finish laps, finish wind sprints. So the Giants medical team put him on I wouldn't call it a strict diet, but a diet because Leonard loved to eat. And when he was done eating, he wanted to eat some more. So they had to kind of change his attitude when it came to food. So they got his body fat weight down to about 16%. He lost about approximately 20 pounds, and that's really when his career took off.
Well, if you remember, because I remember the hit on Montana, both by Jim Burt and then later by Leonard Marshall, he actually got knocked on the ground. Gets up, he's running full speed, coming from behind Montana, and Montana's standing there like a statue. They just call him Stick Man because he had no weight to him at all. And he's standing there just ready to throw the ball, and Leonard Marshall just blows his back out. It was a very violent hit, to say the least.
Documented as the third, the number three. The word best is not the right word, but the third, I guess, most impact collision in the NFL to this date. It's still ranked number 3. I don't know. I don't know what the first two are, but I can't see anybody putting a player out for almost 2 years, and there's two hits that are better than that.
Yeah. That maybe career-ending injuries, maybe.
Yeah, probably. Maybe Lawrence against Joe Theismann. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe could be.
I didn't research it.
So they go 10-6 this year. I think they finish in second, right? They're a wild card. They got to go play
the last 2 games of the season. So the second to last game of the season is the 5th. So it's a 16-game schedule.
Right.
They're playing Dallas the 15th week, and the Giants are actually winning that game going into the third quarter. And your buddy, whose jersey's in the back of you there, from the Dallas Cowboys, gets a tip pass from Phil Simms and runs it back for a touchdown. And Dallas goes up by 14 points. The Giants mount a comeback in the second half. Byron Williams, coincidentally, whose shirt is behind you also, makes a great catch with really seconds to go in the game. He gets the ball down to the 15-yard line against the Cowboys. So the Giants need a touchdown. The field goal doesn't help us. They need a touchdown. If they win this game, whoever wins this game wins the NFC East. Unfortunately for the Giants, they didn't. They came up short that particular day because of that jersey in the back of you. But the other gentleman, Byron Williams, back of you, he makes a hell of a catch, a nice run after the catch down to the 15-yard line. The Giants though could not cash in. And then they go on the next week to play the Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 16, and the Giants really lay it on the Steelers thick, and they go in as a wild card.
I mean, that could have changed everything, right? Because now the Giants wouldn't have been playing Chicago in the playoff game. Maybe they match up in the division round or the championship. Maybe they're not playing in Chicago. I mean, a lot of things could have happened then. So, by the way, Jim Jeffcoat, who used to be with me, said he made a living off taking Phil Simms to the house, getting those tip passes. So,
poor Phil.
Yes. So,
while we're saying Phil's name, I got to say this to everybody: if you haven't seen Mac's interview with Phil Simms, please go download it, check it out, pull it up. It's outstanding. I'm sorry.
Yes, it's on YouTube. Yes, it is. So very, very humble man, Phil Simms is. So on the roster that year, Simms has a good year, 3,829 yards. Joe Morris has his second best year. He runs for 1,336 yards and 21 touchdowns. Yeah. Bobby Johnson catches the ball for 500 yards. Now, aside to Bobby ran into some trouble with drugs later on.
He did.
I tried to talk to him for a while. I tried to get him to come on. He didn't want to come on, but got it together. Great human being. Lionel Manuel. Some people forget about him. Number 86. Another 500-yard wide receiver. Of course, we had Mark Bavaro there.
That's his rookie year. That's Mark's rookie year.
Yes. He had 511 yards in his first year. So,
Lionel got hurt in that season, and he was really on pace to get close to 1,000, but he got hurt and wasn't able to get to that magic number for a 16-game schedule.
Correct. Let's see. So again, we had Leonard Marshall and Curtis McGriff as our defensive ends. I think George Martin was injured that year. I think because he didn't play the following year. Then you had Byron Hunt, who was a left outside linebacker. Left inside linebacker was Reasons. Then we had Carson's on the other side. And, of course, as we said, we had Leonard Williams and LT on the right side. Our Pro Bowlers were Simms, Morris, Marshall, Carson, LT. So we had a really good team, a real good defense. Yeah. Of course, everybody remembers the swing and miss at the punt by Shawland. That the wind was so bad that game. And they got the ball, they got ahead. And once they got ahead, it was hard to catch them. We had a couple shots at them. We didn't do it. So the Bears ended up winning the Super Bowl, beating everybody, destroying the Patriots in the Super Bowl, really. So great defense, great running game. I got the stats for you there. First only team in a 16-game schedule scoring 400 or more points while allowing less than 200 points.
Wow.
So, I mean, they were doubling other teams. This is how good their defense was, as we know they were under Buddy Ryan, really. He ran the defense there. The offense with the great Walter Payton. So that puts that into perspective. I said we were 10-6. The Giants, we'll talk about the 86 season next week.
Okay.
Right now, Bobby, any new thoughts for the Giants, their quarterback needs, the draft picks that you told me before the show? You've been, fooling around with a site out there that you've been kind of messing with. Any thoughts on that? Yeah.
Well, so when I like to do these mock draft things, maybe we can talk about one a little bit later. So the Giants, as everyone knows, have multiple needs, and I can name 6 off the top of my head what the needs of the Giants are. The Giants, we all know they need a young quarterback. That's a given. But the Giants also need some type of young. I should back up a minute. Last year in free agency, the Giants tried to retool their offensive line with veterans who they signed in free agency. So, but what we don't have on the roster right now, we don't have, and I don't care how we do this, guard, tackle, heck, center. I don't care how we do this, but they've got to somehow get some young blood into the offensive line, either to develop someone and or to maybe start. Now, we could maybe use a guard. I don't know we talked about Neil moving, so they could use so let's say they need a young influx of talent on their offensive line. So that's 2 things that they need. They really need, and I know it sounds crazy, but they really need a safety too. The back end was not great. They could certainly use another cornerback. I don't know. Banks is the answer. So there's 2 needs right there on defense, and the third need on defense is we got to help stop the run.
Big time.
So the Giants really need a plug-and-play guy to be next to Dexter, and who can stop the run and put pressure on the quarterback. Not that they have to be like Dexter, but certainly to help Dexter with that type of maybe stop the double teams when he's rushing. So those are some huge needs for the Giants. Now they're going to fill some and in free agency probably, but even though this is just me, even though you sign a free agent defensive tackle, let's say you're going to plug in there and play with Dex. If there's a really good defensive tackle, and believe me, there's going to be a few really nice ones at the top of the second round, the Giants need to grab one of those guys, I think, in the second round, even if they go out and spend some money in free agency. So if I'm the Giants, my need is to take the best players available in the first round. Who's ever there, take them. There's going to be a slew of – there's going to be 3 or 4 defensive tackles in the second round. They're going to be there for the Giants to take, and they should take them. But what they can't do, and I know they need a cornerback, and I know they need, and I really know that they need an offensive lineman. I would hate for them to see them reach for someone in that particular situation. But those are just some of the needs of Giants. And one thing about the draft, and this is what kills me with fans, they think that you're going to draft these players and we're automatically going to get better. These players are for 3 years from now, 2 years from now. You get lucky and the Giants got real lucky this last draft. We got 4 starters. Now that's unusual. Right. You can't expect to get 4 starters and no one's that lucky. So these are players that are to fill, that are to either to develop. Some may be a plug and play. I don't know. Depends on who we get. but certainly they need some help, and we're not going to get everything in one draft. We're just not, as much as we'd like to.
No doubt. No doubt. So Bobby asked me to do something before the show, and it's only worked on our show. It's never worked on the Mac and Jack show. There was a little dance that the Bears did the year of 1985. I'm going to see if I can do this for you. Bob, let me know if it happens or not.
All right.
But this is something. Let's see. What is entire? No. Window. Okay. Let's see if we can share the Super Bowl shuffle. We're going to try. Let's see. Oh, maybe I got to go here first. Back here first. Are we sharing it or not?
I don't see it yet.
Window, entire screen. I don't either. See, they change things all the time on StreamYard. And if I don't use it all the time, it doesn't it doesn't work. I'm going to try. Yeah, your browser has blocked your screen. Click screen icon in your address bar. Click screen in my address bar. Then reload. No, I'm not doing all that. So, again, StreamYard, if you don't use something enough, keep up with it. I don't. They don't. But, of course, that was a Super Bowl shuffle where the Bears were dancing their way to the Super Bowl.
And this is so what's funny about that whole video, too, is they actually did this video before the playoffs.
Yes.
So they're not even in the Super Bowl yet, and they just assumed they were going there. That's how cocky this team was. And they deserve to be cocky because they were a very good football team.
Yeah, I think their only loss was to the Dolphins, right? And Dan Marino, that one game.
Yeah. That one loss.
Yeah, that was the only game they lost, and Marino just got rid of the ball too fast for him. So
and they beat us 21-0. We gave them the best game in the playoffs of any team. So if that's anything to put a feather in your cap on, I remember Phil Simms after that game, after the '85 Bears-Giants playoff game. It was in Chicago, and it was cold and it was windy. You mentioned it was so windy that Sean Landeta went to punt the ball, and the announcer said the punt was blocked. The punt's blocked. Then they go back, and they look at it in slow motion. The wind was so windy that he put the ball down to punt it, and it moved.
Yeah,
that was crazy. But Phil said after that game.
Go ahead.
Oh, you got it?
No, go ahead.
Phil said after that game, he said, in the Giants, we could talk a little more about 85 Giants because that was a great group of guys. He said we thought we were a very intense, physical, mentally tough team all season long. He said, but when we went into Chicago and they beat us, we walked in the locker room talking to each other, telling each other, we got to turn it up one more notch because their level was a wee bit higher than what ours was. And they felt, after they left that stadium, they felt that they were going to they knew they were going to the playoffs next year. The Giants had a very good football team. But they knew going into the offseason, if they turned it up just a little bit, then they could probably be as good, and maybe even beat that team if they ended up facing them again, which they did not.
Well, there's two stories, right? I interviewed Phil McConkey. Everybody remembers Phil catches that ball off Bavaro for the Super Bowl '86 game. He said that a lot of them were crushed. I mean, they all year, that's all they thought about. Coming into training camp, all they thought about was the loss. They didn't care that they made it to the playoffs. They didn't care at all. All they cared about was that the Bears beat them in every way, really. I mean, Harry Carson thanked the Bears. Said, thank you for showing us what it takes, to be a Super Bowl contender. So, I mean, that's how impressive the Bears were that year. And as you said, I mean, they basically crushed everybody except the Dolphins. And again, there ain't too many quarterbacks out there good as Dan Marino, especially at that time, right?
Right.
He was probably the best. So
he was the best.
Yeah.
I mean, in our team, even that, our defensive backs were good. We had, Kennard was a great safety.
Yes.
Bill Courier was a great safety. Well, great. He was a good safety. We had Elvis Patterson, though. I know he took his lumps in the beginning of his career when and maybe everyone might know this, but Parcells nicknamed him Toast.
Yeah,
because in practice, everyone beat him all the time. So they were toasting him. All the wide receivers were running by him all the time. I don't even know I'm not sure how he made the team, but he was nicknamed Toast. I remember Bill Courier. There's a great clip of Parcells. And I don't know if you see Courier you might see him real quickly, and he's talking to me. He says, "Don't forget what I told you. You have to remember, because the last time I told you this, you didn't remember. Remember?" And it's a fun clip in '85 of Parcells' interaction with Bill Courier, and because Bill probably the lesser known of the defensive backs, but he was the kind of the guy who would put everybody in, make sure it was lined up correctly back there. Yeah. And even you look at the Giants linebackers, we had Andy Hedden as our backup. He'd be a starter on any other NFL team. So the Giants had a great defense, and then what we didn't talk about really too, Mac, is the offensive line for the Giants was very good. Joe Morris had an outstanding year.
Yeah. They were just coming into their own. I think they added one more for 86. I think a tackle, if I'm not mistaken. The guy with the bandage.
Was it Jumbo Elliott that they added? I think it was Jumbo Elliott.
I know it was Jumbo. I was thinking Nelson.
Nelson I think was there already, but check the roster. I think Jumbo's not on that roster. I think he's a first-round draft pick of the Giants the following year.
Yeah. I think Linda's on it. 85 offensive line for the Giants. So, but the Giants, and they weren't a big offensive line by any means. They weren't fast. They just worked well together.
They were. I agree with you.
And
they were a well-oiled machine.
Bardos said, I interviewed Bardos, not believe it or not, also. And he said, we just knew what we were doing. He said, the 85 Bears were coming at us from all angles. We never saw anything like this. They were blitzing from every angle, and we couldn't keep up with it. They said, we straightened it out next year. But it was an education for them too. But they were a very, very – they had a lot of chemistry, that team, that offensive line, in 86. I'm not sure if Bardo stayed with them until 90. I know he ended up going to the 49ers also.
Yes.
But anyway, they were more chemistry than they were size.
Yeah, Richard Dent in that game really put a licking on Phil. Oh, and I know Singletary said after the game that him and Dent, Sims and Dent were kind of, and Phil never backed on anybody, so he'll gabble you all day, all the whole game. And I guess him and Dent were really going at it all game, and for some reason Dent really wanted to punish Phil. Yeah,
well, there you go. So again, finished 10-6. Following year, we'll talk about next week. Going on to the Super Bowl. So. Your thoughts about the Giants? We already went through that. The Giants quarterback needs, draft picks. The thing I'm not sure of, right? We talk about a young quarterback. Maybe we need a more veteran quarterback, Bobby. Maybe you suggested
Justin Fields is Justin Fields is someone who let me give you a couple quarterbacks here. You tell me if any of these. Sam Darnold, free agent quarterback.
Not.
Cost money.
I mean, not bad. From what I got here, I'm looking at the 85 offensive line. Jumbo Elliott wasn't there yet. Let's see.
He might not beat up to 1990 either.
Jack Oliver came aboard as a guard. Brian Johnson as a center. Of course, he played behind Oates for a while. So Jumbo didn't come around on 86. So anyway, Justin Fields would open up the run game for the Giants. There's no doubt about that, right?
He's a dual threat quarterback. Those guys are great. And the NFL is different. It is as it was when we were watching. We're talking about these teams. The NFL is a different team. I mean, it's a different game now. I mean, does Russell Wilson, if the Steelers let him go, is that something that you might want to think about?
No. Cooper Rush? No, definitely not. I mean, Cooper Rush is a good backup quarterback.
Joe Flacco?
We want somebody to come in. Joe Flacco, no, too old. I mean, maybe a few years ago, yeah. But I think he's finally past his peak. I like Justin Fields because not only you got to concentrate on a rookie now, the RPOs. He's got the arm to get it downfield to Malik Neighbors, and if Slayton's still there, they have both got speed. I just like the multiple facets that Justin Fields brings to the Giants. Sam Darnold, it's not that I hate the idea. I don't even hate the idea of Aaron Rodgers, to tell you the truth. If Aaron Rodgers wanted to come play for the Giants, I wouldn't hate that. I think I'd like that better, believe it or not, than I would a lot of quarterbacks. I think Aaron Rodgers. Go ahead.
Can Aaron Rodgers still move like he did 3 or 4 years ago? He was kind of a dual threat quarterback in his day. Also, when he was in his prime, he could run, he could pass, he could do it all. Is he still that quarterback?
He can throw on time though, man. That dude's still got an arm. He's experienced. He's got an arm. I mean, I'm not saying I would want Aaron Rodgers because I don't know what that would bring into the team besides the field. But I mean, if you're going just based on field play, experience, MVP, Super Bowl, holds down the fort for a year or two, he's not a long-term investment. That's all. That's the problem with him, right? I mean, eventually Aaron Rodgers is going to say, I think Aaron Rodgers might go to Pittsburgh. To be honest with you.
That's not a bad fit. That's not terrible.
I know. I think he might go there. I think Russell Wilson. Pittsburgh would be stupid to let go of Fields and keep Wilson.
You think they're going to keep Fields?
I think they're going to try to. I think Wilson ends up, believe it or not, I think he goes to the Raiders. All that talk about him and the head coach there, the gum chewer. Yeah, Pete Carroll. Not liking him. I think, hey, listen, it's not a bad. And remember, you still got Derek Carr out there.
Yeah. How about another project for the Giants? What if Trey Lance becomes available?
Oh no, Trey Lance stinks. He just stinks, Bobby. He's
just curious. Just throwing
some in high school.
Throwing some stuff out.
Stunk in college. He can run with the ball. He can't throw accurately. He just can't. And
what were the 49ers thinking about trading up to get him? What were they? What was the channel there?
I think they were worried that if they let him go and he became big, that they had a chance of getting him and didn't. I don't get it. I don't get why anybody. I don't get why Dallas got him from the 49ers. I don't see what people see in Trey Lance. I don't get it. I really don't. He's not accurate. You can't teach accuracy. You can. Joe Montana said the most underrated thing about a quarterback is if he's accurate or not. You really can't teach it. You either got it or you don't. I mean, even Cam Newton. Cam Newton, I mean, great running quarterback, could throw the bomb every now and then.
Big arm, yeah.
He missed a guy in a 5-yard out. How do you do that?
Do you draft a young quarterback and maybe sign Mariota as a bridge if you're the Giants?
Mariota's back and forth, right? Mariota's had some good starts to seasons, like when he was in Atlanta. But then he ended up and walked out on his team. I don't want a guy like that on my team. Right? I don't want a guy that quits and all of a sudden decides he needs to go get a knee operation in the middle of the season without telling the team. You don't need a guy like that on your team, right? I mean,
I agree.
Where are you? I'm right now in Hawaii rehabilitating my knee because I had operation. I mean, that's kind of dumb. So, but anyway,
is Garoppolo a bridge quarterback?
I mean, he's probably still the best looking quarterback out there. If you want to,
so if we want to be on fashion magazines, he's our boy, right?
Yes. Okay. I think he would help out the team a lot as far as that type of publicity. I don't know if he's got it anymore or not, Bob. I mean, it's sort of like Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, I've seen him play real good, and I've seen him play really bad. Not consistent. So if the Giants, I like your idea, right? Unless we're going to Milton with the Patriots. If we're going to Milton with the Patriots.
I know he's banging the table for him.
Yes. I mean,
drafting your boy from Syracuse, and there we're all set in the quarterback room.
There you go. Yes. Listen, listen. All joking aside, I think Keith Angle doesn't give him enough credit. Keith Milton was the best quarterback during the whole training camp, better than the older guy there that they let go of eventually. Yes, and better than Drake May. He was better in practice than Drake May. The coach came in, the owner said he was happy. He had two good quarterbacks. Well,
then they'll never. Then Mac, if what you're saying is true, then the Patriots would be out of their mind to let him get out of there, unless the Giants gave him something that they could work out in a trade.
Yeah.
What would you think would be? And I know we didn't talk about this. What would be a good trade for a backup quarterback who was a 5th-round draft pick, who has never played a down in the NFL except during mop-up time?
Right. I'd start with 3rd round.
Yeah.
Give him a 3rd round, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. They'll ask for more. They'll want maybe a 3 and we have 2 7s.
Yeah, we do.
So, I mean, we don't have a 6th-round draft pick, so we can't give them that. They'll probably want one of our 4s.
Right. I mean, you got to negotiate, right? I mean, you got to go in there and negotiate the best you can. So if we don't get Fields, we go after Milton. I mean, you got plenty of time. There's plenty of time.
He played for Tennessee, played in the SEC. I like SEC quarterbacks. I don't think you can go wrong. I mean, if you played a high level at the best conference in college football, then you're probably pretty good.
And he had a good year too. It's not like he stunk.
No, he had a really good year. Yeah, I liked him a lot coming out of college. I thought the Giants could take a flyer on him in the later rounds, and they did not.
Yeah,
for some reason, maybe it wasn't timing.
I don't know either. But I think he's untapped. I think if if Ball is such a great quarterback guru, he should be able to whip this guy in shape, right? I mean,
I just had a thought. I don't know. Maybe it's the first time in the last couple of weeks. I just had a thought. If these guys, if the Giants wanted to, and I guess they already had signed. So I know they already signed Drew Lock, and they already had DeVito. But why wouldn't the Giants take a flyer on a 5th or a 6th round? I mean, it had to be the 5th round. I don't know, and I don't know where because they kind of jumped around as the rounds go on. I can't keep pace with the draft picks that they get and for losing players, and so I don't know where the Patriots actually picked and the Giants picked in the 5th round, but maybe the 4th round or something like that. I mean, I don't know why the Giants wouldn't have done that.
Well, I read an article about DeVito, and Tommy Cutlets. I mean, I guess he's got a good Italian pizza place, and He's got his mother's cutlets and everything going on there. But he might have set them back. Because, the year before that, he had a few good games, a couple good games.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened to this year because he looked so bad. They took him out after one series and put, Brock Lesnar back in there. So, I don't get.
Yeah, he looked bad.
Yeah, I don't know what happened from last year to this year.
But here's weird, too, Mac. What I'm reading right now, he's a restricted free agent. So the Giants have, they can bring him back or they can let him go. From what I've been reading, the Giants are bringing him back.
Well, that's ridiculous.
That's what I've been reading. That's what I'm hearing.
That's ridiculous.
They're going to bring him back.
I don't know why. Unless they like his cutlets. I don't know. Maybe free cutlets for everybody. I don't know.
Maybe because he knows the offense and whoever they're going to bring in the next two, they're going to bring two new quarterbacks in one way or another. Right. And maybe those guys don't know the offense, so you have somebody in the quarterback room who can help out. I'm throwing stuff at the wall here. I'm not sure why they're bringing back in.
I have no idea what they're thinking with that. I'd rather start new. What's he going to help him? How to throw a bad pass and how not to hit the guy on the right? I don't know. But anyway, so let's start talking a little bit about the Super Bowl. It'll be Sunday, Bobby. I got the Eagles. I wanted the Chiefs to win in the beginning because I don't like the Eagles. For a while there, I was rooting for the Chiefs. But now, I don't know what it is about the Chiefs. I'm not saying it's officiating. I'm not saying because I don't believe officiating is helping them win games like people think. I just want, maybe because it's Saquon, I want to see the Eagles now beat the Chiefs. And I think Saquon doesn't get the MVP like everybody else does.
I think we talked about this a week or so ago when we were just after the games, after championship games had ended. And I was looking at the games and thinking, well, who's going to be the person that either puts the Chiefs over the top or the Eagles over the top? What player? There's got or two players. What are the two players? Now, naturally, you're going to think, well, Patrick Mahomes is going to put the Chiefs over the top. If he has a great game, then who knows what's going to happen, and the Chiefs defense can stop anybody.
Right.
But they haven't. I don't think. And you look at their division. I don't think they've seen anything like Saquon Barkley.
Derrick Henry.
Okay. But Derrick Henry's a different running back. He's not shifty. He's not gonna make you miss a lot of tackles. So he's a different running back. Very good comparison. I totally agree with that. I just think Barkley is he's a home run hitter. I'm not sure Henry's a home run hitter, or he could take it 80 yards a couple times a game. I think Barkley can.
Okay.
Maybe or 60 yards and 50 yards, and all of a sudden there's another 60. I know Henry's a very, very good running back. Don't get me. He's outstanding, obviously, and that whole Ravens team is very good around him too. And we talked about the Ravens, and unfortunately they're not there. But I don't think they've seen anything like Saquon Barkley, and I really think he'll be the difference in this game. I don't know if it's going to be I think it's going to be a tightly contested game, but I think in the fourth quarter, the Eagles will take over in the fourth quarter, and they could win by 2 touchdowns. And it won't look as close as it was. This is just my opinion. It won't look as close as it was when you look at the final score. Say, oh wow, the Eagles had their way. It looks like, and I think Barkley is going to be that person who's going to take a screen pass. He's going to run it. Run it 50 yards for a touchdown. He's gonna at least pop at least 1 or 2, and that's gonna be the difference in the game.
I think coaching is a big part of winning championships, right?
Right.
I think the Chiefs got the better head coach.
Yeah.
I think they got the better defensive coach.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think they'll figure a way to slow down Barkley. You're not going to stop him, but they're going to put a lot of pressure on Barkley. And that's why I think Jalen Hurts will be the MVP. I think that he's going to hit A.J. Brown, Smith, Goddard, as you said, pass to Barkley. I think he's going to run when the protection breaks down. I think he's going to be the MVP for the game. I mean, you're right. If the Chiefs win, I mean, you could throw Kelsey in there. If Kelsey catches 3 touchdowns and over 100 yards, maybe he gets it. But I think Patrick Mahomes pretty much is a choice there if the Chiefs win. But if the Eagles win, I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a big game. If he doesn't have a big game, I think the Chiefs win.
You know, you made a great point a minute ago when you're talking about the Eagles' skill position players. Those are great players.
Yes.
Good to great players on the skill position. You know, there's not a lot of teams that can say that they have good to great skill position players on their football team to go along with a great offensive line, I might add, too.
There you go.
So, you know, that being said, I love Spagnuolo. I have a huge, huge place in my heart for Coach Spags, for what he did for the Giants during his years with them. You know, hats off to him. He's had an outstanding career. Maybe he'll get another shot at a head coach. I don't know. But I guess if anybody can slow down, I'm going to say to stop Barkley, but if anybody can slow down Barkley and come up with some schemes, and whatever those schemes are that he has so many in his head, I can't even name them all. Whatever he thinks he can do, I agree with you that the coaching can maybe take away the skill position players. Besides Kelsey and Mahomes on the Chiefs, who do you think, besides those two, who do you think on offense could maybe be that? Oh my God! Because there's always one guy. There's always a guy who he has that Super Bowl game, and maybe the Eagles too. Maybe it's the tight end on the Eagles. But there's always that one guy who's not. You don't think about it, and all of a sudden, wow, what a great game he had. He might not be the MVP, but he's the guy who the catalyst that took him over the top.
You know. If you look at the history of football and Super Bowls, it hasn't always been a quarterback. It hasn't always been a receiver. Trying to remember the linebacker for Dallas, that one that even lost the game. Dallas lost the game. He won the MVP. I know his number's 54. I forget his name right now.
Was that Randy White?
No, he's a linebacker at the time. It wasn't Randy White. And
was it Crowley? No.
Something like that. Close.
Crowley.
You're close, but it's not Crowley. And of course there was the co-captains too. You mentioned Randy White, and I think it was Harvey Martin. Defensive backs have been MVPs.
Yeah, who was that guy from Pittsburgh? I can't remember his name. He had like 2 interceptions and forced a fumble, and he came out of nowhere, and he was like, "Oh my God!" And after that, you never heard from him again.
Right, and I mean, there has been Super Bowl moments that, as you said, players have stepped up that you didn't even expect. So it definitely could happen. It's mainly a quarterback award now, right? Let's face it.
Yeah, that's true. I only said it because Kansas City Chiefs, because I picked the Chiefs when I asked that question, because I don't think their skill position players are as good as the Eagles skill position players are. So somebody on that skill position side would have, besides Kelsey, for them to win this game, I believe will have to step up and have the game that you didn't see coming.
I think Mahomes has the ball second to the last drive. He goes down, drives the team down for a score, and the Eagles have to score in the last drive. That's how close I think this game's going to be.
Wow. Okay.
I really do. I think this game is going to be one of those games like the last time they played, right? What was it? 45-41 or
yeah, it was a shootout.
It was crazy. I don't know if it'll be a shootout this time because, as you said, both teams have really good defenses.
Yeah.
But I think Mahomes will make you believe, at least for one drive, that those damn Chiefs are going to three-peat. And, they might. Yeah, I don't know. I'm I'm no
It'd be-
Nostradamus.
It'd be kind of fun to see because no one's done it.
Right.
So, 49ers almost did it. Giants had something to say about that.
Right.
But, it'd be fun to actually see, I think. I like to see historical things happen anyways, especially in sports. And it would be fun if that was to happen.
Yeah, to see the first three-peat. I don't know if I want to see it with Patrick. I really don't. I mean,
I think it'd be fun.
Then they're also going to say he's better than Brady and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, no. They're going to be – no. If that does happen, though, they're the best football team. They're a dynasty. No one's better than them. The Dolphins can't even hold their gym bags as they're walking into the locker room. That's how good these guys are. I understand, yeah.
Exactly. So, Bobby, comes near the end of the show. Ask you to begin. Which Giants running back has the most rushing yards as the running back for the Giants in the playoffs? Of course, I said running back, I think 5 times in one sentence, but you know what I mean. So who is
this? This can't be an old. So you always throw me with these questions because I always go old school when it's a new school person, and I always go new school when it's an old school answer. So this has to be kind of in my wheelhouse of when I became a Giants fan because they weren't in the playoffs. So that I got older, they were in the playoffs. So and I'm going to say Joe Morris.
And you are correct, Bobby. Ta-da! 2 for Bobby. But
it's 2.
You are
2 out of 14.
You are incorrect in your criteria because there were playoffs before the Super Bowl, but that's okay. We're going to get
but we weren't in those playoffs because it was the Giants. Who held the Giants record? So we were never in the playoffs.
Yeah, they were. They played against the Browns and they played against the Colts and they played
championship. Yeah, but those are more. When you say playoffs, I mean that's like modern stuff. They used to call it something different back then. I don't even think they were championship tournament or whatever it was. I don't know what they called it. They called it. I guess it was the playoffs, but it had to be Joe Morris because Joe was outstanding. Anybody who's 5'6", which I used to be. I think I'm shrinking as I'm getting older. But anybody who's 5'6" and plays running back, like I played running back in high school, I'm all for that person.
I thought you might go for Tiki.
Tiki Barber was a thought, but it had to be a little older school. I had to go a little farther back. Tiki's too modern.
Too modern.
But Tiki Tiki would have stayed. I know we're running out of time here, but I think if Tiki would have continued playing football, maybe we could do a spotlight on him. I think he would have been a Hall of Famer because he would have been with the Giants the year that the next. So he retires. The Giants go on to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, the 18-0 team. He retires. If Tiki doesn't retire and he has a great year that year, and the Giants win the Super Bowl, and maybe he comes back another year and has another great year, he's got a Super Bowl ring. He may be back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing seasons, and he might be in the Hall of Fame right now with his brother. But he decided to leave football. He wanted to be a broadcaster, and rest is history.
It's possible. It's possible.
I think he would have been. I think he was a tweener. I think he's a tweener right now. But I think with a Super Bowl victory, I think with a couple more 1,000-yard rushing seasons in his belt, I think he was a Hall of Famer.
You think the Giants, after all that ruckus he raised about Eli and that and Coughlin, you think they would have wanted him?
That's a great question because it seemed like Eli got better when Shockey and Tiki left.
Right.
So I don't know, but because there was friction in the locker room, but I think that we had players like Strahan and OCU Minora and Justin Tuck, and I think we had players, and we had I know we signed a couple defensive backs. One was from Miami. His name escapes me. And we signed another defensive back who'd been in the league for 10 years. And we had a good veteran presence on that team. So maybe that would have been something that we could have overcome with Shockey gone, because Shockey left anyways too. Because the Giants ended up trading him away for really a bag of balls, because we got nothing. We had a third and a fifth, and I don't remember who we drafted, but a bag of balls.
So, folks, thanks for tuning in. So you got our picks. I got the Eagles. Bobby's got the
Eagles.
All right. Even though we don't like
two touchdowns.
Yes,
huh?
Bobby.
I hate the Eagles. And it's killing me to pick them because I hate their fans too.
All right. Wow. So 2 touchdowns. I pick them by 3 points. Either way, we both got the Eagles winning that, and it's because of Saquon. Let's be honest. Folks,
that's true.
Yes. Have a great rest of your day. You've got Glove Fist coming up at 7 p.m. with Jack Hirsch and Frank Latirzo. Bobby, have a great day. Great job as always. And
You
folks,
too, Matt.
Thanks for tuning in.